Hey guys, welcome back to Cracku. In this video, we're going to touch upon a rather controversial subject, right? Teachers and influencers or people, generally anyone even related to the CAT exam, have had very polarizing views about the on-screen calculator available in the CAT exam. Now, why is it so controversial, right? Firstly, you think it might seem very useful, right, which it is honestly, and throughout this video I'm going to explain about how useful this tool can be, right? But there are a few people who tell with reason that calculators can be a waste of time in the CAT exam and can actually suck out a lot of time, and it would be faster if you were doing the calculations instead. Now you have to understand they're not wrong when they're saying this, right? Sometimes using the calculator for particular kinds of questions can be slower than you probably solving it by yourself. Now, so that is why we have made this video, to completely show and make you understand where and when exactly to use the calculator, right? I will be explaining which topics to use the calculator for, what kind of questions you need to be looking out for that will require calculator assistance, right? What questions you are expected to do calculations by yourself naturally, right? So we'll be exploring the whole thing here. But any of you who have attended the live sessions or seen any of my videos that I have done for Cracku, I have always propagated the use for calculators. Calculators can be one of the most useful tools ever if you know how to use it properly, right? So here, let's get started. So here we have a picture of the on-screen calculator, which is available in every single Cracku test, daily target, in study room, and mock sectionals you take, you will find the on-screen calculator. This is the most similar thing that you can see compared to the on-screen calculator when compared to CAT, compared to anyone else out there, right? So as I said, in this video I'll be talking about the various ways that you should be utilizing this calculator and why calculators can be very effective, right? So let's get started. Firstly, how to use it effectively. Now you have to understand, the people who say that calculators can be a slight waste of time, they mean to say with a lot of good that you probably can do the calculations faster because calculator will take time. But you have to understand, calculator at the end of the day that is provided to you is a tool, right? You need to learn how to use it. It's not the worst idea in the world if you want to practice using the calculator on a daily basis or a weekly basis, even trying to get faster with it, right? Because honestly, you have all tools available in the calculator, right? So just pointing it out, you have the basic numeric expressions, which is addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Not only do you have that, but you have a modulus sign, right? While dealing with, let's say, percentages or quadratic equations, while doing the plus or minus b square minus 4ac by 2a, there's a lot of times you're going to have to use the modulus sign to add or subtract, right? So you have a modulus sign given there, right? And also, more interestingly, there is a square root. You can literally get the square root of anything, and the best part is the inverse. I for a long time had not realized that the fact that there is an inverse button in the calculator while solving questions, and once I realized and I learned how to use that, it totally changed the way you do anything, honestly. For example, let's say you need to calculate sine 45, right? And instead of remembering what 1 by root 2 can be, just do 2 square root and then take the inverse of that. You have the answer with you in less than 2 or 3 seconds, right? And it's faster than trying to input 0 point something, right? So for trigonometry or anything, this can be really helpful. So how to use it effectively? Step number 1, go to Cracku's on-screen calculator. We give it for free for everyone, right? Start practicing there, right? Even better practice would be to go to a study room test or a daily target test and start using the calculator while solving these questions, right? Calculators can be really effective. Honestly, I use it all the time, and I actually remember Marty sir himself had asked me, I think a month ago, he was doing a live session on DI approximation method, and he was asking everyone for a particular tip on how to do calculations faster. And I honestly, without any hesitation, told, I think the fastest tip would be learning how to use the calculator quickly, right? It is faster than anything that is there. Any tip or approximation method, learning how to type quickly using a mouse, right? Remember that there is a mouse in the CAT exam, not a touch bar. Right, so you might be taking your mock tests and sectionals on a laptop, but remember there's a mouse in the CAT exam which you're going to need to know how to use with the calculator quickly. You need to know when to use the calculator correctly, right? So there are going to be questions where you should be doing the calculations with hand on paper, right? Just for example, let's say there is a simple quadratic equation, right? Just a simple one. You should not be using the calculator and putting the quadratic formula for this, right? It's much easier just to factorize it by this thing, right? You get x is equal to minus 3 and minus 2. It's much faster doing it that way, right? And also there are certain kinds of questions, let's say inequalities or something that come. Instead of starting off by using the calculator, do the initial calculations and then go to the calculator, right? Don't start off. You need to know when to use it. The best place to use it is probably percentage and profit and loss. Number one place to use the calculator is percentage and profit and loss, and that is the question which we will be doing today to show you how to use the calculator effectively and as fast as possible, right? Percentage profit and loss is the best way, because so many times if you've actually seen percentage profit and loss questions, right, they actually don't even give a number, right? It's just given a wholesaler buys at a 10% premium from the manufacturer and he sells at 25% markup, right? Where is the cost price? Where is the selling price, right? You have to take everything as X or 100 and then do the 10% and then 25% markup. So much easier to use the calculator that way, right? Secondly is actually big quadratic equations, right? Big ones. So one of the favorite kinds of questions that has been coming in CAT recently is arithmetic with algebra, right? There are going to be these kinds of questions which say that solution 1 has 1 to the power x and solution 2 has x plus 1 plus x, right? Concentration, and then there's some arithmetic operation and you end up getting a huge quadratic equation like 169x something, right? That is the time to realize you need to use the calculator, right? So it's very specific times and places you need to use the calculator, and when you do, you have to be very quick, right? So let's actually solve a couple problems using the Cracku calculator and let's see how it's actually done. So as I said, we'll be solving a couple questions using the CAT on-screen calculator. I've selected the two best kinds of questions that we should be looking at, right? So let's look at the first question, right? How much does 1000 rupees amount to in 2 years when it is deposited in a bank at 8% per annum interest? The bank compounds semi-annually, right? So it's 8% per annum. So semi-annually, it will be 4%, right? So per year, it will be 1.04, right? So square, right? So let's use a calculator here. So it's 1000 rupees into 1.04 into 1.04 into 1.04, right? We get 1169.85, which is 1170 here, right? That is the correct answer. We did the question in under a minute, right? That is what I'm talking about. This is an easier question, but still you have to understand the calculator can be very effective. Let's look at the next question. An article has incurred a surge in price over the last 3 years by 8%, 12% and 25% respectively. In order to gain market share, the seller successively gives discounts of 10 and 20%. Find the difference between the markup percentage and the discount given on the article. So markup minus discount. So let's find the markup pretty quickly using the calculator, as I said, right? So let's take the price as x itself, right? So x into 1.08 into 1.12 into 1.25, right? So we get the markup as 1.512. So markup percentage will be 51.2%, right? So discount is 10 and 20 successive. So 0.9 into 0.8, right? That's 0.72 minus 1 is what the discount is. Again, using the modulus here, we get a 28% discount, and I'll just subtract it, right? Minus 51.2, right? 23.2 is the answer. Again, we did it just over a minute, right? And this was not even a very easy question. So this is what I'm talking about, how calculators can be very effective, and we have seen it in a problem scenario, right? So we just saw how to solve problems with the calculator as fast as possible, right? If you're actually interested in more problems like that, we actually have an entire revision playlist that we have curated. You can find the link below in the video, right? But moving on with the calculator part, when calculator can be the fastest option is when there is a lot of successive, right? Either multiplication or division or addition, right? Another place it can be very helpful is actually graphs, right? So there are these DI charts with a bunch of, let's say a radar chart is there, or a spider chart, or a bar graph, right? Like you write down the table and the table is like 10 columns and you need to find the sum of this and this, right? Calculator can be really fast at that, especially if the value is like 234, 131 and something else, right? So odd values, if it's values in zeros and fives, you can easily calculate it, right? So that's the difference I'm talking about. If the values are, let's say, zeros and fives or eights and fours, which is just even numbers, if the values are just berserk and just all over the place, that's when you should be using a calculator, and you should be really quick with it, right? So that's one place you should be using a calculator. Another place you should be using calculator is big operations, right? Your permutations and combinations, NCR, and your n factorial, right? So again, with these as well, you should do a maximum amount of operation on your paper, and just the final bit on your calculator, you have to be really quick with it. So this is basically the guide on how to use the calculator as quick as possible, and why I think you should invest some time into using the calculator on a daily basis to get really quick with it. I think it can pay off very handsomely. It's a very great tool to know, right? So thank you so much.